Hello again, everyone. The Olympics are coming up, so I'm making this patriotic strawberry and blueberry shortcake recipe. It's a great summer dessert. Stick around to the end to see how to make our awesome whipped cream topping. Let's get started. We're going to start by making the berry mixture. We'll need 1 pound of fresh strawberries, which is a standard size pack. I cut off the top and sliced each strawberry into 4 equal pieces. We'll also need 1 cup of fresh blueberries, a 1/4 cup of sugar, and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. Once the fruit has been cleaned and prepared, grab a large bowl and pour in the blueberries and strawberries first. Now we can add in the 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. Finally, the tablespoon of lemon juice. We had a little spill at this step, but I love having our kids help, and accidents are bound to happen. Once all these ingredients have been added, you can stir them together. Like I mentioned before, it's always great to have helping hands from the little ones. Once everything is fully mixed, let it sit for around 30 minutes. It's a perfect time to move on to other parts of the recipe. Next up, shortcake biscuits. Begin by preheating your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit and prepare your baking sheets with parchment paper. It's time to grab a large mixing bowl and prepare to combine the dry ingredients. This includes 2 cups of flour, a 1/4 cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Start by pouring in the 2 cups of all-purpose flour first. Next up, granulated sugar. Now it's time for 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and the 1/2 teaspoon of salt. When they've all been added in, it's time to whisk everything together to combine. My son did a great job, so we're ready for the next step. For this step, it's important that we use cold butter. This meant that we kept the butter in the fridge until we were ready to use it. Grab your cold stick of butter and cut it into small cubes. Then disperse the cubes into the flour mixture. We took our time to make sure they were spread out. And it made the process much easier. Alright, we're ready for the next step because they've all been added in. It was time to bring out the pastry cutter. If you don't have a pastry cutter, you should definitely get one. We use ours all the time. But for now, you can also use your fingers to help cut the butter into the flour. I let my son handle this part too, because it was a great workout for him. We were ready when the butter was cut in and broken down into smaller pieces. Next up is the buttermilk and vanilla extract. This recipe requires 3/4 cup of buttermilk and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. It was time to pour the vanilla extract into the buttermilk. We had another little accident, but we were able to fix it. We stirred until the 2 ingredients were properly mixed. Then it was time to pour the buttermilk vanilla mixture into the butter and flour mixture. Take your time and stir until just combined, but do not overmix. We stirred with a spatula until the mixture had an even consistency. This process took 2 to 3 minutes. And this is what it looked like when it was properly combined. You can still see the little pieces of butter mixed throughout. And finally, the dough is ready. Next, flatten the dough out on a level and lightly floured surface. Spread it out evenly until it's roughly 1 inch thick. Then, use a biscuit cutter or another circular object like a glass, or in our case a measuring cup, to cut out circular biscuits and place them on the baking sheet. This process does take a while, but don't rush it. We ended up with 11 circular biscuits. If you have fewer, that's fine. Ours were closer to 1/2 inch instead of 1 inch, but it works out either way. For now, let's move along to the next step. Brush the tops of the biscuit dough with buttermilk. It was hard not to make a mess with this step. Now we're ready for the final ingredient before putting them in the oven. Sprinkle the tops of the buttermilk with brown sugar. You can add more or less depending on your preference. Now it's finally time to bake the biscuits at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 to 15 minutes. When they're ready, they'll turn golden brown. And while the biscuits are baking, it's time for our fun goose fact. Did you know that geese will travel from 2,000 to 3,000 miles during their winter migration? Now that's what I call a long winter vacation. And now it's time to return to our recipe. While the biscuits are baking, it's a great time to make the whipped cream. We'll need 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. We kept it simple by adding the powdered sugar and vanilla extract to the heavy whipping cream. We stirred it a bit, and then we put the mixture in the fridge to cool for a few minutes. Then we pulled it out and poured it into a medium mixing bowl. Then we used our handheld kitchen mixer to beat the whipped cream. We started on a medium speed setting, then moved it a bit higher. The whipped cream gets thicker over time, and you'll want to stop before it gets too thick. It took between 2 and 3 minutes to get the consistency that we wanted. When the biscuits are done baking, carefully remove them from the oven and allow them to cool for a few minutes. Then it's time to assemble the strawberry and blueberry shortcake. If your biscuits are thicker, you can slice them horizontally down the middle. As we mentioned before, we made ours thinner. And this actually helped us simplify things and stack ours. We called in backup at this point and had my wife help. We started with 1 biscuit on the bottom and then added strawberries and blueberries on top. Next we added our homemade whipped cream. By this point it was already starting to look really good. Next we added another biscuit. It looked like an awesome fruit and whipped cream sandwich. Finally, we added more fruit and whipped cream to the top. Now there's no right way to do this, so you can build your own strawberry and blueberry shortcake however you'd like. And no matter how you do it, I'm sure it will taste great. We were very happy with this recipe. I loved that it was easy enough to do with our kids, and we enjoyed trying the finished product as a family. This is one of those recipes that looks and tastes great. The colors helped get us pumped up for the Olympics. It will work well for 4th of July and other holidays as well. Now that we're finished with this recipe, it's time to try out our Team USA sprinkle cookies. See you there!